The Wishing Fairy by Andrew Matthews. Sarah and Violet were twins, but they were not at all alike. Sarah had fair hair and was a kindly girl. While her father and mother were out working on the farm where they lived, Sarah swept the floors and washed the dishes. Violet, on the other hand, had dark hair and was a selfish, vain girl. She was supposed to help with the housework, but instead she stayed in her bedroom, combing her hair and dreaming of the day when a rich and handsome gentleman would carry her off to be his wife. But Sarah was so good-hearted that she never told tales about her lazy sister. Then, one Saturday morning, Mother called Sarah and Violet up to her bedroom. Mother's eyes were watering and her nose was red. "I've got the most awful cold," she explained. "So I can't take the basket of eggs to market today. You two girls must do it for me." Now, Violet didn't like this idea at all. "Achoo!" she sneezed. "I think I've got a cold as well. I must go straight back to bed. Sarah can bring me some warm milk before she leaves for market." And although Sarah knew her sister was just pretending, she did just that before setting off down the road to town. It was a hot day. The road was dry and dusty, and the basket of eggs made Sarah's arms ache. But instead of complaining to herself, she breathed in the fresh air and listened to the birds singing in the trees and thought what a lovely day it was. After she had walked for an hour or more, she sat down on some grass at the side of the road to eat the bread and cheese and drink the milk that she had brought with her. She had only just begun her meal when she noticed someone watching her. It was a little old woman who seemed to have sprung from nowhere. Clothes were worn, her hair was silver, and she leaned on a noble black stick. "My!" cried the old lady. "What a hot day it is, and how tired and hungry and thirsty I am." Sarah instantly felt sorry for the old woman. "Sit next to me, grandmother," she said politely. "You can rest on the soft grass and share my food and drink if you like." "What a kind girl you are!" exclaimed the old woman, and she sat down as Sarah had suggested. Then she had finished eating and drinking, the old woman winked at Sarah. "What would you say if I told you that I was a fairy?" she asked. Sarah thought for a moment. "I would believe you, grandmother, for you have such a kind face," she replied. "Prettily answered," chuckled the old lady. "And you would be right to do so, for I am the Wishing Fairy. Now take my stick and tap it on the ground 3 times, then see what happens." Sarah did as she was told and tapped the stick on the ground. 1, 2, 3. All at once the eggs flew out of the basket and broke in half on the ground. But instead of the usual yellow yolk, out poured all sorts of wonderful things. Ruby rings, silver combs, silk scarves, and a leather purse full of gold coins lay on the road. "These things are all yours," said the Wishing Fairy. "They are a reward for your kindness, and I hope they bring you happiness." Overjoyed, Sarah gathered up the treasures and ran home. Her mother and father were amazed when they heard all about Sarah's adventure. Violet was terribly jealous. "Little Miss Goody-Goody," she muttered to herself. "I bet I can do better than her." And, forgetting she was supposed to have a cold, she put some eggs in a basket, along with some good things to eat and drink, and set off down the road to town. It was still a hot day, and before long Violet longed to sit down. "I will not stop until I see the old woman," she said to herself, and forced herself to walk on. But she hadn't gone much farther before she was saying, "Bother the silly old nuisance, why doesn't she appear? I'm sure Sarah didn't have to walk this far." And not long after that she said, "I can't go on. This is really too unfair. I must sit down and have something to eat and drink." So she sat down at the side of the road and unpacked the hamper of food she had brought with her. Out came ham and cold chicken, fresh bread, cream cakes, and some cool milk to drink. Before she had time to eat anything, Violet noticed a young girl watching her from the other side of the road. She was dressed in rags and was leaning on a knobbly old stick. "What do you want?" said Violet rudely, carefully unwrapping some juicy tomatoes. "My," cried the child, "what a hot day it is, and how tired and hungry and thirsty I am." "Serves you right," said Violet, stuffing a piece of chicken into her mouth. "You should have packed something to bring with you as I did." "I see," said the girl. "And what would you say if I told you that I was the wishing fairy that your sister met this morning?" Now Violet was quite taken aback by this, but she soon recovered her senses. "My sister told me all about you," she said. "So give me that stick at once. I want some silk scarves too, and emerald rings instead of ruby ones, and gold combs instead of silver." So saying, she grabbed the stick and banged it 3 times upon the ground. The eggs in her basket flew into the air, but instead of breaking on the ground to reveal the beautiful treasures Violet expected, they smashed over her head, covering her from head to foot in slimy, smelly egg yolk. When she looked up, there before her stood the old woman, leaning on her stick and chuckling merrily. "I want my reward," wailed Violet. "You've got just what you deserve, my girl," laughed the old woman. "Let this be a lesson to you." And with that, the stick flew up into the air and began to whack Violet hard. She ran home as fast as she could, with the stick chasing her all the way. But once she got to the front gate, it vanished into thin air with a whoosh. After that, Violet mended her ways. She helped Sarah with the housework and stopped being so lazy and horrid. In the end, her dream came true. She did marry a rich, handsome gentleman, and so did Sarah. But those are 2 different stories.